Mr. Grow It. From the Stash Podcast.
Are you a grower? Are you tired of lugging around too many bottles? Is it too expensive? Is it so confusing? Tired of reading feed charts? Well, guess what? There is an easier way. Introducing the Stash Blend. You can now get your bag of Stash Blend premium additives that you can add to your garden using just about any base nutrients. Go to stashblend.com and get your order today.
Ventana Plant Science. Check out their cloning gel, which includes indole-3-butyric acid, IPA, and vitamin B1 to help achieve successful rooting of clones. It doesn't include any coloring dyes or unnecessary additives and comes in 3 different sizes, 4 ounce, 8 ounce, and 16 ounce. The nozzle on the bottle allows you to apply either to the clone directly or place a dab onto the plug or medium, then stick the clone through it. This allows you to easily coat the entire part of the plant that will be submerged. For more information, go to growershouse.com or click the link in the description section below.
AC Infinity. The Ion Beam Kit is AC Infinity's full-spectrum LED bar lighting. This kit includes a lighting controller, 4 LED grow light bars, and 4 steel bars that allow for flexible mounting on any part of the grow tent. Its unibody housing and aluminum board feature full-spectrum Samsung LM301H white LEDs. And the beauty of it is, you can integrate this with all of the AC Infinity products in your garden. And if for some reason you don't already have the Controller 6.9 Pro, well, this kit includes an innovative controller that features 4 brightness intensity levels and 4 daily timer settings. This LED is not only efficient, but very affordable, especially when using that discount code, TheStash15 at checkout. From the Stash Podcast, we are live and direct. What up, boys?
In person, episode.
Yeah.
See you boys, we're doing it again.
Yeah.
Doing it again.
Yep, on the road again.
Live from the FTS studios. Here we are in person.
It's looking better and better and better. We're
Every
improving.
time.
I mean, the amount of time it took for this trip to come here was such a headache of everything with layovers. We all sat in the airport forever. Got a little too litty in the day. Then got here real late, set everything up. Time zone changes. Me and P were up to the end of the night, to the crack of dawn, vice versa. And so we got a lot done, but we didn't get to do as much as we wanted to. But now I feel like we're in that mode. I'm in chill mode with the boys. Like, it's time. It's time, you know?
It's good.
The vibe is right.
These in-person episodes are definitely a lot better, I feel like. And just from a listening experience, if you're just tuning into one of the podcast platforms, by the way, we're on all podcast platforms.
Everything.
For those that didn't know that are maybe just tuning into us on YouTube, we're in all the podcast platforms. So whatever your favorite one is, Apple or Spotify, but quite a few people follow us on there.
Just
And
me, yeah.
The audio experience. I mean, I feel like in person I could talk more. You know, like hashtag let Chris speak.
Well, you
know
can
what I mean?
speak. There's not a mute button. You see it's there. It's close. You know.
Well, I think it's mostly on the guest episodes is where like I can't.
You're
speak.
an interviewer.
The Jorge or Cervantes one. I mean, geez, I was like,
Dude.
and then Rob was like,
He
Cutting him off.
But you nailed that one, man. You
Yep.
did so
It
good.
was a
with
good
Jorge.
epi.
I didn't cut him off.
It was a
but I
great
thought about
epi.
it. He's a great guy though. Great conversations, man. Like
I cut him
when you get in conversations like that with people, you want to let it just flow.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that was similar with Tommy Chong, where I'm like, just go, bro.
Yeah.
Let it loose, but smoke with us. You called that one out, which is great. You were like, hey,
Yeah, that was wicked.
you gonna smoke with us?
So,
Right?
so you think about it, boys. Tommy Chong, Jorge Cervantes, Jay Chandasankar. That's pretty impressive. And then not to mention most of our community on top of that.
And some amazing, great friends and colleagues and people who've been on the show. We got more people lined up for this trip here. And we're doing these more regular for people who are tuning in. When we do have an event to go to, we'll announce it. We'll let people know. But for the most part, it's been,
We're in and out.
in and out. Just grind and make it happen, man. Like
Another
literally-
legendary person that it would be nice to get on here we all met him was Ed Rosenthal.
Oh, yeah.
We
That
need
was
to add
great.
him to the list, man. We need to get him on
That
there.
would be epic.
Yep.
That would be
And,
epic.
And yeah, anybody viewing this one have any suggestions on guests that we should bring on?
I'd love to see Kyle
Just know in the
Cushman
chat.
on, too. Talk a little Cushman chiropractics.
Yeah,
Be good.
I've
You
had-
talked with him, right?
And I've had
Yeah.
You too, yeah. I'd love
I
to get
had a
He
conversation.
hasn't talked to me. It's a gap or something.
Yeah. We totally should line them up. I'd love to hear from you guys. Anyone other than Seth Rogen or
I'd like
Burner.
Seth Rogen.
Burner.
and
We get a lot of like people like, who do you want to see? It's like Joe Rogan, Seth Rogen, Burner. Can you get the Queen? Like it's just like okay. Good.
Well, our boy B, he was trying to.
Yeah, he was
being
sinking
a dig,
big.
man. Shout out to you, my
Yeah,
friend.
man.
He tried to land us Burner. He tried to land us Seth. He landed us Jay Chenatenkar, right?
Yep,
So
yep,
like, shout out to him, man.
Yeah,
Yeah, that is crazy. I forgot about
Yeah,
that.
right?
Man. Shout out to B. That's the motherfucking
B.
man.
Yeah, that's
That
dope.
is. You know,
That's dope.
like B's somebody who's been around watching a lot of our content for years, and I've seen his garden change over the years and implement stuff that we've done and his own thing. He's using Stash Blend now. Going to get some Stash Blend out to him, so he's got it more on deck consistently. But his process has been simpler and simpler over the years, I feel like, and that's kind of what all of us are trying to do. Some people overcomplicate. Others are like, man, how could I make this easier? I'm not cash cropping. I want good results. I want simple. We talked about an episode years ago now at this point, and it was the easiest way to grow.
Yeah,
And I
actually.
think
What do we got? I got the date right here. It's
just randomly has. It's crazy.
hold
It's as
on,
if we discussed it.
Yeah, it's after we planned it.
What?
November 1st, 2020. Now, does that date ring a bell?
That's the first. Is that the first episode we did?
The first episode we ever did was Easiest Way to Grow Plants, Part 1.
What? I didn't
So
know
that's
that.
why I wanted to circle back with. I thought we should circle back, and we've done. It's so different now, right? 3.5 years later,
Yeah.
or a little over 3 years later.
Yep.
Wow,
3 years, 2 months.
crazy.
Yeah, and things have changed. You look at the companies now that are providing products. 3 years ago, grow boxes weren't even a thing, and now neither was the Canatrol. And
And I wasn't even familiar with blue mats or so many different things. Like I know there were things were available then, but like what we talked about in the episode,
AC Infinity didn't have their humidifiers, the circulating fans. Like they had a
extension
light,
piece for the
or they didn't have a
69
light.
Pro.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
There's a lot of things equipment-wise
called
that can make
stash.
things easier in the garden. And yeah, circling back around, I'm sure if we didn't watch the episode prior, but I have a feeling if we record this episode and then watch the other episode back, we're going to see a lot of differences.
I agree.
At least myself, I've changed from 3 years ago to now. I've done things in the garden that makes things a lot easier.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
no question. Especially as we're traveling more. Like you inspired me to get the blue mat system in. I switched to organic pretty much completely in my home grow, and that's made it so I can travel. Like the simplification of that was for myself, but it was also the fact of like, man, I could leave for 4 or 5 days a week, and my plants aren't dead when I come home.
yeah,
You know,
yeah. I wasn't running any AC equipment. I had a steadfast opinion that automation was not for me. 3 years ago, I had no automation in my tent.
no tents even before that.
Oh, you're right. I wasn't even running
Yeah.
tents. And so, yeah, things have changed.
Well,
Things
is it
have
easier
changed.
to grow in a tent or not? I mean, that's a debatable topic.
a whole conversation
yes. I know, right?
Yeah.
Do a whole episode just on that. But
Yeah,
I mean, is a tent growing easier than growing in an open room? I think
that is
depends on your
subjective.
climate in
Yeah.
a sense. Your climate will.
I
help
really
determine that.
I really feel, because I got hashtag quit letting Chris speak. I think that having a tent is a microclimate or a micro environment where you don't need to try to control an entire room. Most tents aren't the size of a room. Closets, you could argue, are closer to a tent size, but then they're not sealed. They don't have a good light restriction on it. Horrible way to phrase that. But there's still a lot of air that escapes. There's just a lot that goes on. So I personally think a tent is just a preformed environment that you can set and forget. So I think it's easier in 2024 to start growing in a tent. But what do you guys
Yeah,
think?
I mean, honestly,
Could be, yeah. Debatable. I
Debate
don't
is
want to go one side or
subjective.
the other, because if you have a really powerful grow light and it's going to heat up that tent really quick, well, instead of being in a tent, being in an open room with the same grow light going, well, then the heat is in a bigger area. You're not battling as hard, you know what I mean? So that's,
And honestly, with LEDs today, I've got a massive light in my tent, and heat isn't an issue.
well, you're in
Today.
Canada.
One
It's
today.
the
in a
winter.
basement.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, it gets 100 degrees in the summertime.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying like it's one of those scenarios where then you almost want it. Like for me right now, I'm having to add a heater into my tent because it gets too cold.
Yep.
When it's like in the winter, then I don't want to crank my light up too much and burn my plants. So you got to find that balance where that heat does help. You can control the variables better, but at the same time, you're adding just as much as you would financially into this space for an open room. If you're not thrifty to be able to make everything airtight and no light leaks and everything like that, the tent's the way to go. Would it be easier? I don't know. I don't know if it'd be easier. I don't know if I'd say it's easier per se. I think that it would be more convenient for a lot of people because you can hang your lights, you can hang everything. There's holes already there. You don't have to do any extra work in that sense. But like, I don't know if I would consider it easier. I think having a complete setup in your tent to automate it would make it easier. That's like, again, not just shilling AC. like some people would say. But
as he says with an AC logo.
As
on
I
his
say
hat.
with my hat behind me,
It's everywhere.
Shill. You know, I didn't even know what that word was. I had to look it up, like, I don't know, 3 years ago.
I don't
something.
Kirk
I learned
Schilling,
what
the
that
baseball
was.
player.
I guess
and was
Schilling.
like, that's what I thought it was.
I guess I don't know the actual term, but I could piece it together.
Is that from Europe or something? Do people say shill? You're a shill or shill?
You're a shill,
Isn't that
mate.
Mostly Europe or something?
Bro, if you're a shill.
I don't know. We
Let us
really
know in
say
the
that
comment
States.
section if you're on YouTube.
I never.
let
I
us
don't
know.
say it in
Yeah,
Canada.
where did that come from? Let us know.
Yeah,
in the
let us know in the comments. Do you say that?
But as I show
trolls do.
AC Infinity, their controller 6.9 and the whole environmental ecosystem that they have, if you have that all set up in a tent, then yeah, I do think it's easier. But a lot of people are just piecing things together, and they're still having to make it work. So it's like if you don't have a control system, something that makes it so it's literally dial it in with a button or an app, then I wouldn't consider the tent the variable that makes it easier, in my opinion.
It was a lot more challenging back in the day. I mean,
Yeah,
when I first
yeah.
started, you had the variable speed controller on the inline fan. You had to dial it in just to the perfect amount to where you're not sucking out too much humidity, and you don't have it low enough so the heat doesn't build up. And so you had to really dial it in. Now with the controller, I mean, geez, it's boop, boop, boop. It's going to automatically turn on and off your exhaust as needed in order to exhaust some of that hot air or high humidity and so on and so forth. So,
Well, of course, this is our sponsor, so we're going to give them shout outs, but almost every brand is coming out with controllers now because they're seeing that, hey, if we want the best results from our equipment, we're going to want to have a situation where we've got the best technology to go with our equipment. Human error is the biggest issue with a lot of things. They'll be like, oh, this light blew out, or my fan died, or this or that. It's like, well, you had it full blast 24/7 and never slowed down.
Right.
As where when a controller is taking care of it, you have everything dialed in and optimized to run more efficiently. So I think that's where, regardless of what brand you're using, having something that controls that whole environmental ecosystem, that's number one, whether it's in a tent or not. Got a buddy with a Trollmaster system that's everything's plugged in and it's all like it's just a grow room, but he's got the same features as, you know, a grow kit or grow tent.
Trollmaster, Inkbird.
Yep. Pulse.
I was just thinking of Pulse, Niwa.
Yeah.
God, I haven't heard. Wow, I haven't heard Niwa. Are they still doing their thing?
Yeah.
Okay, I haven't heard. No one's talking about them anymore. I haven't heard a lot about them.
Everybody else started doing their technology. We're in a day and age where everybody's making the same shit as everyone else. The only advanced feature is they got one more outlet. You know what I'm saying? Or they can plug in a couple more things. It's all the same, man. It really is. Different name brand, different branding, you know, and who has better customer service. But I think that's the big variable with whether what you decide to do with a tent, open space, whatever. You need to control all these elements. Otherwise, it's useless, you know? And if you got a system where you're doing that, you got to look at your media and your food too, because not everything has automatic feeding. You know what I'm saying? And then distribution in that sense.
So that was gonna be my next question.
That's what I was going to say. I was
if
going to
you're
ask
gonna go
you
for a
this
room-
actually. Where do you go with it?
Easy. Simplicity. What would be the easiest for me? Simple is easy for me. So when we talk about automation, yeah, having the ability, you do have to learn this equipment though. That is a factor that you need to put into. I can't count how many times people ask me, Pigeons, make a video on how to use the controller 69.
I made a video. People are like, didn't explain anything. I'm like,
it's the easiest thing. You just push buttons and then it
well, the app has all the things.
It's so simple.
It's changed the cycle.
But
if you can't read,
understanding the equipment, I think, is definitely the variable that once you get into that, then it becomes a lot easier. Simplicity.
A lot of people don't want to take that route, and that's perfectly fine, right?
That's what I was 3 years ago.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I remember literally saying this.
Oh, I'm not going with the tech, man. I'm good with the old school
It'll make
stuff.
you
I don't want to pay
lazy.
$150 for a controller, or however much they cost. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And they're perfectly fine doing it the way they are. You know. But
Yeah. So okay, so tent or room. But what do you think about medium? What do you think about the grow style itself? Would you tell someone who wants to get in it easy? Should we tell them to start up an ebb and flow system? Should they?
Rodan.
Should they?
Athena. No.
Like, should they start with a media, like a soilless potting mix? Should they use soil?
It's a subjective conversation, isn't it, boys? Now that I'm thinking about this, 'cause I'm like, well, it could be, or it could be, or it could be,
Right.
depending if you're in. Well,
That's right. But for me,
so
I
many
would
variables.
not recommend somebody get into hydro for their very first time. Maybe they're good at putting PVC piping together. Maybe they're handy at and trying to put decking and all that. But honestly, if I was going to get someone into grow starting in 2024, I'd say grab yourself a pot, some fabric pots, get yourself some soilless medium, and grab yourself a nutrient, and away you go.
soilless, huh? So you'd say like a cocoa with inert, nothing in there.
Yeah, I do Pro Mix, but yes, same idea.
Interesting. So
Either
yeah.
clay pellets,
See, and that's
perlite.
what I'm saying. It's subjective because I'd be
Yeah.
like, whoa, no, organic soil, simple pimple, water
Same.
it.
Same.
Like, that's just crazy. I'm like, organic?
Once
I'm
you
like,
do it,
holy fuck, I gotta learn all this
bro,
shit.
not even. This is where, again, I give shout outs to brands like Down to Earth, Jeremy Build a Soil.
Yeah, yep.
They have shit where it's like, use a cup of this, put it on top, mix it in
Sure.
water.
Okay, well then I think that's
So
the same
organic
argument
is-
I'm having then.
Organic
So you gotta,
is like
you gotta,
saying martial arts. It's like, well, which one?
sure, right.
Which-
I honestly think just to save face is that, like, in my opinion, there'd be no difference then between just putting a top mix on or adding nutrients, other than I'm adding nutrients more frequently.
Well, no, the nutrients too, and you won't have to balance your pH, which you don't have to
I
deal
don't
with
do
anyways.
anyway.
But then also in a sense that you do once, maybe twice in your whole
That's
lifetime.
the only
and
difference.
you
That's
do the
what I'm
top
saying.
Feed,
So
and then you're just
maybe
watering.
that's the easier method.
So then if you got a blue mat system, like the, going on with this, with the automatic watering, so to speak, gravity based, you're keeping that soil moist. You just have to refill that reservoir. And it's like, you're pretty much just training your plants now and doing work and doing the Tuckum Troy style and getting your trellis net really banging.
Tuckum Troy style.
Yeah,
That needs to be
coined.
Tuck it Troy style. Hashtag Scrog Nation.
That's what it is. But I think that's where with organic, and this is my argument, goes also with hydro. You know what I'm saying? Is I ran hydro for a while. I thought the same thing. It's like, nah, let's be stupid. It's more for the fact of all the equipment you have to buy for it. But if you have, let's say, a 10-gallon reservoir or a 30-gallon reservoir, right? You're changing that one time a week. You're mixing your nutrients, and they're there, and it's there. Instead of you having to scoop it and pour it into soil, you don't have to work through any issues. You can literally sterilize your roots. You never have to deal with pests. It grows faster. So you'll have people who argue that hydro is the way. Like, dude, it's so easy. Like
100%. Yeah.
that's where I was saying it's subjective, because like,
I just don't think
I'd
that's
wanna
where someone's going to start. I think someone's going to
who's
learn
the
that
person though. If
over
it was
time.
If it was Wink, who's a high tech kind of guy, I could see him starting there. But if it's us who are like,
But he is a high tech guy, and he didn't start there
What did you start? Did you? He did.
with hydro.
He did start with hydro. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like all
Touche.
DIY. But
Touche.
see, that's where that's where I was saying, like, this is why I have the 420 Growers Club, literally, because I was like, I need to talk to you and see what your style is, or you got to follow what I do, because like the type of person, it's almost like, what's your type of music, and then I know what kind of person you are. It's like, what's your growth style, and I know what kind of person you are. It's like, oh, you're a DIY thrifty kind of person. You're into XYZ. Well, you may build your own soil, or you're doing deep water culture or ebb and flow or something like that. I doubt you're doing just cocoa and watering, and or I doubt you're doing XYZ. But myself, yeah, I jumped right in with simple pimple, bottle nutrients, get her done, make it easy. What do I do in the back? Cool, Aunt Jemima recipe, pop, 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 done.
You can't say that. So, Chris, how did you start?
Well, I mean, you guys were talking about media, soil versus cocoa, then kind of went into fertilizer. But just to mention on the soil versus cocoa thing, some people are going to say it's easier to have an inert medium. Then you have more control over the nutrients. It's going to be easier on that avenue, keeping the health of the plant. Others are going to say soil's a little bit easier because, hey, some of these organic soils have the nutrients to begin, so you don't need to actually mix up nutrients for the first 30-plus days of the grow, depending on what size container you're in.
Pest prevention, and you got IPM built into a lot, like depending on your soil. If you're using an insect frass, it'll a lot of times keep them away. Like
a lot of these soils kind of hold water a little bit better, so you're doing watering less frequency, so that's a little bit easier on that avenue. However, on the downside, soil could be a little bit easier to overwater versus cocoa. So it's kind of there's so many different avenues.
Dude. That's what, like I said, is like, it's so tough
for me. I really do like the soil route. I like to be able to, when it comes to talking about the easiest way to grow, get a bag soil or mix up your own soil, enough nutrition in it to start for the first 30 plus days of the life. Usually what I'll do is I'll be in a 1-gallon container for the first 20 days, shape the plant the way I want it, then transplant it over to a 7 or a 10-gallon container. And you're flipping a flower right then and there, basically. And then before you actually have to start feeding, whether it be bottled nutrients or fertilizing or the top dressing, you're in flowering. You know what I mean? So you don't have to do any feedings in veg. So whether, on the other hand, if you're in cocoa or you're starting there, you're doing feedings for the whole life. So you're mixing up nutrients and stuff. So yeah, it depends on which way you want to go about it. But for me, talking about like easiest way to grow, I think soil, I think organics, I think auto watering system, and which we haven't touched upon yet. But
that's where that leans into it. Is then if you're talking about feeding, if you're not having an automatic watering system or automatic feeding system with the cocoa, it's hand watering the whole time and hand feeding the whole time. So then you're looking at weekly or multiple times per week with cocoa, especially. Then it's the amount of work that you're looking at, labor. But then you'll see people swearing by more yield and more overall results by doing that. High frequency fertigation techniques. But it's harder to nail down unless you do have automatic watering. So that's where, like, the easiest way to do it would be to just get an automatic watering system, whatever media you want to do, set it, forget it, and train your plant.
Put it on your phone. You can see the moisture levels on
We're
your
in
phone.
that day and age where you can do that, and it seems like cheating to a lot of the OGs, like the original people making
I could never trust a man who did that.
That's what I'm saying. People literally say in the comment section, I can never trust a man who doesn't hand water.
That's me. That's my
Well,
saying.
you're saying.
That's what I say. I don't trust a man who
It's
doesn't hand water his plants.
There's a difference though, because like I've seen some people get great results. I mean, even with Coco or even Grodan with Athena, high frequency fertigation, doing the proper technique, they're getting shit louder than P's new shoes. Like just pow, And that's where I feel like the difference of what people have is the genetics, how they treat those genetics in their system and process. But it's subjective. What's the best? Because that person will be like, well, this works best for me. They may have a wink-like brain that's thinking like, well, I could do this, I can make this, I have this, I'll tweak this, versus someone like me or P's like,
I need weed and I need it as fast and
it's
as easy
my
as I
need it
and I want it now.
a little JG Wentworth with it. And if you don't have that, the end result in mind, filling in the gap in between is tough to do. And I think looking at it from a perspective of what's the resources that are available for you. Organic is available more for everybody anywhere because you can find gardening components. Bottle nutrients, some aren't available unless you're getting it online. Let's say if you're, like shout out to Code out in Colombia, what he's going to get there, he wouldn't be able to get, in other places with shipping restrictions, or being down in Barbados or areas that are not going to be or Trinidad, I think was where.
Trinidad, Tobago.
Yeah. It is not as easy to get some of these things. Be like, oh, just go get, Advance or Athena or whatever, simple bottle stuff, your cocoa, get this brand. Like, I can't get that. It's like, okay, well, what's an alternative? Then you need to know about your makeup of what's going in your soil. You can still get the same end result, but then that's where the organic or what's readily available for you is the better option.
I think in today's day and age, in 2024, I think one of the easiest ways to grow is to kind of get an understanding of, as you mentioned, what are some of your best characteristics? What are some of the things that you really enjoy doing? Are you into the tech? Are you into the microbes? Are you into the physiology? If that's the anatomy of the plant, that's very important. I think going organic is a good way to get intimate and have a good connection with your plants. But in today's day and age, I think one of the priorities that people need to take into consideration is homework. I think if you do a little bit of reading and a little bit of studying of the products and the methods, there's a book. There is a book, a great book.
Organic cultivation.
Yeah, and I think
Mr. Grow It. What?
He's
New
got
book.
and it's signed.
Shameless
And
plug.
it's signed.
I give these guys a couple signed copies.
Graffiti style signature too, so it's baller.
Yeah, I like that.
January 1st, 2024.
Out here, baby.
I love it. Yeah, no, and I think you're in for a world of hurt if you jump into this thinking I'm going to take P's method and I'm going to try to go just, in my opinion, simple, easy, or whatever. But if you don't have a clue as to what products to start at, where to source those products, what's a great product versus an affordable product, you're going to be lost, because when you walk into a grocery store or you search on Amazon, what is a grocery store? There is a world of different products and nutrients and bottles, and it can be so overwhelming. So a little homework before we got started, I think, would make things really, really easy.
Well, that, and like I feel like you can go through it dummy style. You can go ahead, like the amount of people who are just like, Guy Green, I'm just following Mr. Canuck. And it's like, shout out Matt. It's great. He lays it out. You can just follow him, but they don't know when something comes up that's an issue. They don't know what caused it because they don't know what's in there. Same with you go get the Build a Soil 3.0 soil, the mix done for you. You just plant your plant and you ever run into an issue, you don't know. But if you build it and make it all yourself, it's like having a protein drink that you just get a powder and scoop it, or eating proteins. Like today I had all this meat, I know what I had. I know why my stomach feels this way and what's in there, versus like, it's in the back of this protein shake. Oh, didn't know that was there.
Maltodextrin.
Yeah. I think there's a difference too. Not everybody needs to know all those things. They might want to just use the bro science and bro down, which is okay. But then you have to understand that when hurdles come up, what was once easy could be even more of a headache because you pushed back learning the whole time. It's almost what I did when I first started is I dove deep for like a year of just learning like crazy. Read Jorge Cervantes' book, Ed Rosenthal's book, and I wasn't a book guy at all, but I'm just like, I need to learn.
I was going to say, I didn't read a damn thing, but I watched all their videos.
Well, either way, taking in
Jorge's for
information
sure.
to learn this stuff
Yep.
before I just was like, all right, it's easy. I want to do it. Then I'll look it up. It's like, no, I need to figure all these things out, get my store list, know what I'm looking for, so I go in with some idea, But then, thank God there was grow stores, so I could be like, hey, I watched this guy, and this is what I'm looking to get. They're like, don't get that. Here's this, and this. Here's why. I'm like, oh, Yeah, thank you. But at least I didn't come in there totally blind and be like, well, I want plants that are big and grow dank. What do I do? And they could be like, have you ever heard of advanced nutrients? And I'd be like, shit, But I had an idea.
$150 later.
Yeah.
2 bottles. Or 2 bottles.
Well, it'll make bigger butts and candy.
Yeah, it's candy. Yeah.
That's where I think having a little bit of base knowledge makes it so things are subjectively easier, because then you're like, oh, well, I already learned deep about organics. I read Teaming with Microbes. I read Organic Cultivation from Mr. Grow It. I already have this knowledge, so this is easy. If you go into it, it's overwhelming as hell if you have no idea. Super overwhelming.
So what's the easiest way to learn then? Because there's so many different ways to learn, right? There's audio, visual. There's
Probably
different
from the
methods,
Stash
books.
podcast,
There's
man.
YouTube. There's forums. There's websites, right? What is the easiest way to go about it? I think it's your learning style. Some people learn better
Subjective,
as hearing things. Some people learn better seeing visuals. Some people are more hands-on. But I think a good website would be the Grow Eat Easy. That website's really good, and a book, right? Books.
This is
7
what's
steps
nice
to
about
grow.
a book. These newer ones. I mean, a little biased because you're the homie, but you've got all the time before of some of these bro science books and some of these ones that have been, added to factual information or debunked, and then now put it in something else and combine things from like Teaming with Microbes, years of garden talk from the Stash, your show, your experience. So again, these are like guides to skip past, to like learn what you need to learn to be dangerous enough versus trying to figure it out on your own. And I think you can do that, but you get people then who are like, hey, my plant's yellowing and it's 14 days in. What do I do? What's going on? You're like, well, okay, what did you do? Like,
What's wrong with my plant? Just a picture of the plant.
yeah,
No
and it's
background.
like, what are all the variables, And like, if you're not following somebody and maybe imitating that growth style, it's hard to know. Because you could be like, hey, I'm following the Coots method, or I'm following Mr. Growe's method, or Pigeon. Like, then it's easier to be like, oh, yeah, simple. Are you adding this, or are you doing this twice a week instead? You can help.
There's a common denominator there when you mention all of those: the book, the videos, the forums, the chats. Is that you're networking? You're talking to people who've grown this plant before, people who've had issues, who've worked their way through it, who've had good harvests, bad harvests. I think it's really important in today's day and age to find people or find places that are also doing what you're doing. And whether you're going online, whether you're going to books from authors who've experienced the gardening, I think that's important. I think that's important because you can network. And when you start to network, you start to remove variables that don't work, that are not worth trying, like 24 hours of darkness before harvest or whatever. There's a few of those. Ice flushing or whatever. There's
stem splitting.
Like there's just so many, right? And it's like I can easily avoid those by reaching out to people
But those are still fun to try.
Vetting. Yeah, of course. Who doesn't want to stick a pencil through a stem?
Prime examples, you look at the From the Stash Discord, like we've got a lot of people in the Show Your Grow or in the Grow Help area that are just back and forth communicating and like, nope, that was wrong, do it like this. And like, oh man, look at the plant now.
Yep.
Like helping each other because they're already just a couple steps ahead.
That's right.
That's
right. Your Discord has the same. Mine has the same thing. And that's the same with these forums. The one you mentioned, I don't want to say it again.
The Mr. Grow It forum.
The Mr. Grow It forum.
Dude Grows. Dude Grows has a good one too.
Yep.
Like there's a variety of them out there that
Northern
have good
Scrogger.
communities. Yeah, Northern Scrogger's whole community,
Great
Scrog
Discord.
Nation. And he's got a Facebook group too for those of you who do the Facebooks.
And it kind of vets the process because, people will be
social proof.
That's right.
You literally
That's right.
have social proof.
You guys just put plants on the internet. How do I know, things go wrong, things go bad? Well, because I do update every week or every day on every other platform.
Yeah, other than YouTube.
YouTube, it's a weekly thing or it's a scheduled thing. And there are a ton of other platforms where you can follow these people and really get a look. And Troy's a great example of that because if you look at he's such a great teacher too. But if you just looked from the outside.
He didn't sponsor this episode.
He didn't, but he's going to.
Shout out Troy, Northern Scrogger.
He's just the homie.
He's a great guy, man.
And just again, genuinely good. Like that's the cool thing is the people we associate with make very good content. You look at High Again, they got you on their journey. So a newer grower is going to be growing along with them with an auto or a photo and be like, I ran into the same thing. The heat was an issue. Oh man. So you can see it's like you normalize your journey, so to speak. If you're just by yourself in an echo chamber, you won't know if you're doing better. You won't know if you're doing worse. You put pressure on yourself. You think your product's not good versus being in a situation where you're in a community. That's what's great about what we've built here is like people will just help each other because they want them to have dank. They have no reason to do it. They're just like, no, here's how you do. Like maybe it's an ego stroke thing. I don't know. But it's more just like you need a community to advance quicker. I feel like in this to make it easy for you, because you can literally just stumble on one person's process and be like, dude, I use this guy's whole method. He's just some dude in Discord, you know?
Yeah. So we talked about the easiest way for the media, easiest way fertilizer. We touched upon watering a little bit. What about like easiest way for training plants and stuff, right? Because there's so many different ways to go about it. Would you say, oh, the easiest way is not to train at all, right? It's like, so
Just put a bunch of them in.
I would not say that.
Green.
Not say that. Well, then
I would,
you don't
and if I may, I
support the stuff you're talking about. Like buds get so heavy, all of a sudden they flopping over and stuff.
and your undercarriage,
Just
your
a bunch of ugly
lollipopping,
larvae stuff.
You know,
Well, of course,
I
the
consider
quality
that
in the
training, right? So you got to make sure that you're not having too much undercarriage.
balance between making things easy and then trying to achieve a higher quality.
Right.
Well, unless you do a
Right.
sea of green, so you do a bunch of plants that are like as big as a water bottle, and you just have like 20 of them in the room, and they're all going like clone size, and there's no larf, it's just one bud. I've seen people do pretty good with that, but I don't know how you're going to clone that plant. You got to have one big mother plant that you're just cloning a bunch, and then so you still have to have a lot of space, even though you're doing a lot smaller plants with one big canopy.
Doesn't sound easy.
No, it just, well, the easier part is just to make a bunch of little plants and flip them into flower, and all auto watering is just.
If you're just getting started, I don't think you should really do any of that. I think you should really just understand how the plant's going to grow, how it's going to adapt to your climate, how you're going to respond to it, how it's going to affect your life as a human being. If you think you're going to travel now, you got another thing coming. But
coming.
Yeah, there's a few different, I don't know, things. Variables. There's always so many different.
So many variables. We still need to make a T-shirt that says
Oh
that.
God, we will one day.
Don't we?
Before somebody else.
I thought we did.
Maybe we did.
I think
We
we,
did,
have
but I
one.
don't think it's.
Oh, maybe it's not.
Nobody
got
else,
rid of
not
it.
even us.
Yeah, maybe you're right.
Killed it.
Not even us.
Squashed it.
I think that, like, if I may, the easiest way to train would be one training method versus a million training methods.
That's a good point.
People will watch a bunch and be like, all right, I'm going to low stress train, I'm going to top, I'm going to super crop, I'm going to FIM, like all these things.
Which one would you recommend? Like
I'm a low stress trainer heavily.
A lollipop. Like I feel like a lollipop is something.
It depends though.
We're all different.
Well, if you look at look at like Troy's situation again, another shout out to Troy, but you're bending your plant immediately, so that whole plant is, you don't want to remove anything until you're doing a little defold once it's already all trellised out and you got a whole scrog set up. But when you're working in a situation where you've got a plant that's like taller, the bottom could be naked, but that's a bunch of wasted space too. I've had plants before where it's just like 2 feet at tops and just long legs, naked legs. So I think there's a balance of like, you want to do some defoliation, but the full lollipop, why let your plant grow that tall?
It's not so much.
You know?
I think maybe I'm not using the right term as much as lollipop. I consider removing any foliage in like that bottom third as lollipopping.
lollipop.
So just get it, like all that little fucking shit. Get that out of there.
That's what I'm saying. Like if taking the whole plant right
that'll
now,
that'll happen at like this kind of height within
but
the
if
first
you're at
couple
that
of
height and you immediately bend it,
yeah,
and you tie it down?
I would still recommend someone clips off all those weak and insignificant stuffs.
yeah, I think it just depends on the plant too, though. Because right now my triploid one I'm growing at donuts is like all top, and I just bent it immediately, so it's just like.
Yep, I would see more like a sativa.
Something that's a little lankier and has some work that needs to. That
would
you
need a
can
little.
probably-
Yeah.
makes sense.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
One thing.
We got into training, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, for me is super like low stress training is definitely, tying her down and letting it work its way up and tying it down again. I get more tops. The plant's real thick and robust, and I'll do a little bit of maybe some super cropping, just a little bit of pinch pop.
What about you?
That's about it.
I think we all disagree.
Depends on the growth of the plant. Like we talked about, long stretchier ones. I'll top the plant. I'll need to top them multiple times because I might have sativas in the same room that are just staying more squat, right? Typically, I like to do one top at the 4th or 5th node, and then low stress train from there. Get some of those side branches to come out, and then low stress train from there, and that's it. That's it. If I don't need to super crop, I won't. The only time I'll super crop is in flower when it's stretching, and some tops are getting higher than others, and maybe I'm not able to do any low stress training. Maybe it's one of the middle branches. Well, I need to knock that one down and have the older branches continue to grow and try to maintain that even canopy. So, yeah, and I still do the lollipopping and defoliation. You got to do it for airflow purposes, right?
If you can't tuck it, you got to pluck it.
But yeah, that's typically what I do. And now I know you super crop every single branch.
Yes. Yeah, but
Like
I would
thick
not.
girth.
But I wouldn't recommend that as an easiest way to grow.
Well, and plus, just like you were saying, is sometimes you let a plant just grow and see how it's, you know what I'm saying? And it'll just
let her grow and
still do default.
always
still do
default.
those
I think I'm misusing.
one-
I think I'm interlacing the terms lollipop and default because
lollipop and be a full strip from the bottom.
and I would strip the entire
so
bottom.
then you probably do a little bit of both of them.
That's what I'm
I'll
thinking.
do still some
Because
defoliation.
a lollipop to me is you're taking out the bottom 2/3 of the plant, leaving the top.
And
For
you got to
me,
look
it's
at it
I'm doing it the other way around.
well, like that. It's not a tough technique to do, but then you look at the amount of time it takes versus just tying it down,
Right.
or just pinching it.
Yeah, you twist it, it's going to respond.
Stuns.
You bend it over, it's coming back.
Yeah, or you got to be in that room for an hour, taking all these pieces off and stripping down. It's like I'd almost rather just immediately, as soon as it's tall enough, bender, little how we do, howdy doing, and that's how it works. Like that's I think is just the quickest, easiest way versus like the best results. Yeah, do attack it from a variety of angles. You know what I'm saying? Defold is important. Defoliation is important. Some sort of training to make it stronger in the canopy even, whether it be using scrog technique, low stress training, super cropping it down, but making sure you get the even canopy. But it's a lot of work when you start adding all
That's
those
right. And
variables.
I would not recommend a trellis
Yeah.
of any kind for anyone who's saying to start easy. The easiest way to grow.
Well, maybe a trellis, but
scrog.
not scrog. Yeah, because trellis, that's especially those who do commercial, they'll do double layer trellis, and then everybody I know who's worked at a commercial grow, their home grow turns into a commercial grow.
Right.
And they've got all the same, and they're yielding like crazy. The bud's like, it's okay, but it's always a double layer trellis. Plants are just tall and skinny, but it's to hold the plants up. But then that work of pulling those pieces down and stripping everything through the trellis, it's like, shit, man, barely. It's more work. That's literally what and same with the scrogging. Like, it doesn't take much work to bend it, but then think about harvesting. Like, fuck.
Yeah. And I do want to get onto harvesting because that kind of, but one thing we kind of missed, and I think we're different on this one. What's the easiest way to germinate? For what do you think?
Bring it all the way back.
Yeah, we kind of skipped. I wanted to get
I've
into the
just been
harvest,
putting right into the soil.
but then
lately.
I was like,
Well, yeah, it depends on how many plants you want to grow, right?
That's
Because
cute.
if you're
That's
a
cute.
small home grower, sure, you can just plant 6 seeds in the medium and then sit there and wait and then let them sprout.
3 days, boom. Yep.
But if you're going 100 different seeds, it's easier probably to put that in the paper towel method and then throwing away the duds.
Yeah.
So you're not planting 100 different seeds, planting some of them are duds, so.
See, and that's where I'd argue easier versus better. That's better. Easier is just tuck it.
Oh,
and then
yeah,
put it
of
in,
course.
You know what I'm saying?
Just
That's
like
the
training versus not training. It's easiest just to
Yeah.
not train at all.
Do anything.
But,
But then it's ROI.
But that's where, that's what I'm saying. We got to think effectiveness. So it's like, would your effectiveness be, do you make sure you get the taproot? So we have the taproot. We're good. We're ready to go. Now we can plant. So that would be, whatever method you want to do. I've seen people just put it in water and then they see the seed break enough. Like, oh, that's a good one. Toss it in there, but it's simple and easy. Paper towel, it's not hard. None of these things are hard. They're subjectively, it's like, what do you want to be done easy?
The key was the amount, and that's something that I had never considered a couple years ago because I said plant it, forget it, and someone was like, that's great until you got 100 seeds, and I was like, oh.
I'd say
point.
even still for somebody
Good
who's
point.
doing 4 or 5 seeds, because it's like, damn, I had all my everything into that.
Yeah.
I've been watering these for 3 weeks.
The thing though is with
Nothing's popped.
four potted things of dirt, it doesn't germinate. I'll throw another.
Oh,
another
yeah,
thing
yeah,
in
yeah.
there,
I'm just
done.
saying for somebody who's on a cycle, when they're like, man, I'm doing everything at once here. I've only got one tent. I'm only allowed to grow 4 plants.
It's happened to me, man.
And
You
I'm
plant
like-
a bunch of seeds, and all of a sudden, some of them don't pop, and you're like, "Crap! Now I got to plant more." And then those new ones that you
They're
sprouted are
staggered.
weeks
And
behind.
that's what I'm saying. So, like, the whole conversation's so subjective.
Well, and that's the point. That's the point of
it
this
is
video.
The
really
audience is learning nothing on this.
No,
one.
I think
Nothing.
It's a great
Well,
conversation.
this is so many variables. This is why we say there's so many variables, because there's not a one size fits all. And I think us discussing it as a trio makes it so you can hear and be like, oh, this
This
makes
is
more
easier
sense
for
to me.
So
Yeah,
we
yeah.
got germination. What's the easiest way to flower your plants?
But what about you? What's your germination?
No, I can't add anything to the
good.
conversation. You guys already did. So. No, just legit. You guys, paper towel, plant it, forget it. I can't add anything to that.
You gotta do both.
I'll answer.
So then you answer the flower.
I'll do flower. So what's the easiest for me? The easiest way to flower is no touchy. I kind of live on the idea that once you're done, I guess there's the first 3 weeks, you're doing a little tuck, trying to maintain that level. But then it's less is more. I feel the more hands-on you get in the flowering, the more variables that start to come into play in terms of bugs and you're destroying the trichomes with your fingers and so on and so forth. So a little bit of training for the first couple of weeks, and then no touchy for the rest.
Yeah, I mean, your light level should be dialed in at that point, right? There's no more adjustments
Yeah.
that you really need to do in flower. Just worried about nutrition and then the moisture level on the medium.
Yeah, really, flower should be cruise control. That's for the most part. That's the easiest
That's
part.
why
If-
you
if
put all the work in.
I was just gonna say, if you listen to all the things we just talked about, and those were already done, check. You already got the environment, everything's good. You made sure everything was tight and right. Yeah, flowering, we're coasting. But there's people who have other belief systems, the schwazing technique, so to speak, or extra defold week 3 or week 4 in,
Yeah,
where they
some guys
strip
remove
it down to
every leaf.
nothing.
Yeah.
Now there's commercial grows. I've seen it firsthand. You can potentially get more yield, right? But at the same time, easy. We're talking about easy. We're talking about ROI. We're talking about your work. At the same time, now we're adding a whole nother training day in and a lot of work, and your fingers will be numbed out. I've helped people in there before. I'm like, God damn, another plant? Like, I thought I missed it. Nope, no, another one here. It gets to the point where easy and effective are the conversations you have to look at, the efficacy of your own workflow. And I think that flower, let it go. Like, I think that's across the board. Set it and forget it. Pay attention to it. Keep an eye on it. But, like, quit messing with it. Quit messing with it. Until you, this is where the auto flower issue that me and P are always against autos in a sense. Because now it's like I didn't have all the time I wanted to do all that work. Because now I'm flipped into flower because why? It's the genetics told me I am.
It's funny you say that, man. It's because, like, as you just said that, I'm sitting here thinking Neil would be like, easiest way to grow, get an auto flower.
Yeah, but see, and
Right?
again, all the
Right?
things you want to do for training or for whatever work you want for that plant, you have such a window that you have to do it then. And now it's like, man, well, I'll try to do a little bit. I'm in flower here. We're going to tie her down now because she's gotten too big. It's like, no, I knew how big it was. I know it's going to potentially double. So I treated it properly. That's where I did the knowledge. I did the book learning. You know what
Yeah,
I'm
I used
saying?
to have
I had the answers.
I used to have a theory that if in doubt, flower it out. That's the most absurd, worst advice you could give anyone.
Well, it's like
Because
you can flower, but it won't yield
You
much.
ain't gonna get
Yeah.
anywhere. She's all twisted and yellowing and burnt. It's like flower. No. So you're right. Check your boxes.
Yeah, I think that's where like the flowering process, if you have everything dialed in, should be that time where you're just seeing your results.
Mm-hmm.
It's not where you're needing to work for the more results. Now we're seeing it. Then it's just like, oh, it's getting bigger. It's getting thicker. Look at this smell. Oh, it's like that's the reward system that dopamine flows as it's going through versus people who are like on their plants the whole time. That's when you're easy grow and people who are like, you think this isn't a job? Growing's a job. I don't have to work. My wife does, but I'm still home and grow. And it's like, okay, well, you're just doing things inefficient for an excuse so you can stay home and not do anything, bud. Because there's systems, there's things in place. I'm sure I'll get somebody in the comment like, yeah, I said it, and I'm not taking it back. I stand on it. Automate it. Simplify it. Make it better. You have a life and things outside of this. It's not a job. This is a hobby. Even if you help people in another sense, it's only if you have this as a business. Then it may be a job. Then I understand going the extra level for results versus ease. But I feel like ease should be a big part of this plan. You want good results, of course, but you want to also have an enjoyable experience. People in prohibition states may say other who are doing what they're wanting to do. That's because they're still making money, you know. But the ones who are just growing for good smoke, man, make it easy, make it good.
So take us through harvest.
So I feel like cutting the plant at the base and just hanging it from there. I mean, now sometimes you're forced to cut individual branches, right? There's reasons for it. I use the canitrol system. So like I need to cut individual branches and fit them in there. But for the most part, I feel like just cutting it at the base, hang it right up there. And then,
Christmas tree.
Yeah. And then just put it in your dry space.
How many hours of darkness before harvest?
Nothing.
I had to ask it.
Some
How
people
much
do it,
ice
some
do you
people
put on
don't.
top of
I
the
don't do
base
it
of the
anymore.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
What'd you say?
How much ice do you put in the base of the plant to make sure it turns purple?
What's that? Well, some people are doing hours of light,
24 hours
of light
of of light.
harvest.
Oh, okay. Oh, I think actually I heard that too. Not that long ago.
Dr. Bruce Bugby has mentioned it. That makes a little bit more sense theory-wise, is what he had mentioned. So people are doing that.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I actually agree.
Incremental growth. People like to do things for the tiniest little incremental growth.
Yeah.
But what do you guys think for easiest way to harvest?
Mine would be the same thing. I think what I do before I pull the plant is I'll do heavy defol, like right when I'm pulling it. So I'm hanging it upside down, and it's all I have to do is like a light trim afterwards. You know what I'm saying? It's not, or the trimble, AC Infinity trimble. Because for the most part, I'm just smoking it. Not even for the most part. I am. Me or my mom or my grandma or my grandpa or my uncle, just smoking it. That's it. So I'm going to make sure that it's easy for me to harvest, but I'm getting good results. Usually hanging it upside down in a tent. I've got a single tent that I'll use for just drying. And I can dial in my whole environment with like an easy controller. It's all just easy peasy. Toughest part would be like de-stemming, taking all that, but like that just is what it is. It's a part of it. That's where the argument of people doing the wet trim and cutting it all down into pieces is they knock that step out and it's done. Versus when it's dry, it's just such a sticky nightmare, you know. But some people enjoy trim jail, but there's the reason it's called trim jail universally.
Yeah.
This
Yeah,
isn't
there's
like
no
a-
one that
Get the bowl trimmer. That makes it easiest,
That's what I'm
right?
saying. Like it
Love
really
them.
makes it. And I've got a buddy who's got a good machine trimmer, and Trey's got, well, it should be CLTVs, but Trey has the Terminator that everyone else has besides me, and I've never used it. I've never ever used it in 7 years of having it once. Conveniently, it's never when I need it, but I've seen it in use. Wink has too. It works pretty damn good, but it's a $2,500 unit.
Yoof.
So that's where that's
Trimble's
it's easy, but what are you willing to
100
spend on? you
100
know?
bucks, yeah. Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
same with the automation argument. Like you're going to be spending more to do that. You can DIY it and do a little bit more work, and it's cheap. Like your cost per gram is nothing. You know, it's real cheap. Or you spend a lot of money and make it very easy. I think it's the same with harvesting. Is like you can go buy all these automated things. They've got the debucking things, which I hate. They make me cringe. They got that at Franklin Fields, and I was like, "What are you guys doing? Do you have outdoor harvests?" And they're like, "Nope."
Oh yeah.
Shredding the plants, man. They
What's
put
that
the
called?
stem. I think debucker.
Shucking. Is it called shucking?
Yep.
Shucking, but it's like the system. I'm pretty sure it's a debucking system.
It probably is.
Okay.
Yeah, it probably is.
But yeah, it was horrible, man. They had a bunch of them in, and it looked like just a slave line of people, and it's scary.
This is a green product, so it'll be more expensive. It'll be named different because it's what they use to take bark off trees and stuff.
Yeah, and so they just feed it through there. The machine sucks the stem through, and then the bottom buds are just smushed trichomes and ruined, right? But then it saves the top ones, and it's just such a nasty system and process. But people do that, and then they'll toss it to their automatic trimmer, and then they're done.
So when you're curing your stuff, when you're curing and storing, do you prefer mason jars? You're using the Canitrol, if I'm not mistaken.
Canitrol's so easy for drying.
Dude,
It's mostly a drying box, right? A
Well,
lot
and
of
a
people
storage,
think, oh, it's
storage, huh?
storage too,
Yeah.
but a lot of people think it's just for storage. They're like, I'm not paying that much money for storage. It's like, no, drying. It's automated drying box. That's like its primary feature. You literally put individual branches into there, press the start button. It'll dry for a certain number of days, whatever conditions you want. You want 60-60, you can put 60-60 or whatever ones you want. Then it automatically switches over to a curing settings if you'd like to have it different. And you're good. You really only need to, like, there's been multiple times where I went on vacation, harvested a plant, put in the Canitrol, press the start button, went on vacation, came back 4 to 7 days later, depending if it was a long weekend or a week, dry, good to go, perfect.
Love it.
So the only thing you do have to keep an eye on is the back drip pan. You need to empty that like twice for the matter. And you could take that line and actually put it to a larger bucket. So you won't have to empty it at all really for
Like
the drying period.
dehumidifier,
But
pretty much. Right?
like twice is really when you're emptying that
Man,
back
I wish it
drip
was
tray.
more affordable, dude. Because
I
like,
know.
gosh.
Well,
Yeah.
there's the Herbs Now dryer,
Oh
which
yeah.
I haven't tried, but smaller system. A lot of people talking positively about that too, but you can't really adjust. You can't tune in the temperature and humidity. That's one downside. They're like, oh, it's already set to the perfect drying conditions.
For this
Well,
year's
what is
science.
that? You know? Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And
For this current today's
Because
science.
you've already proven, or Dr. Bugby is telling us that 60-60 might not be the most
well, and there
ideal.
was another. You
So
had
if that's the
another doctor on
ideal
your show recently, it was
temperature to have.
Catherine.
Dr. Allison Justice
Allison, yeah.
did some study in regards to it. Yeah.
I just throw Catherine Zeta-Jones. Is the
So
name.
60-60 is good, but is there other?
Right,
And
right.
kind of talking about VPD now for drying. A lot of people going after
well, that's
it.
essentially what that magic number is when you put those
Well, of
your
course.
humidity and temperature
Yeah,
together.
yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
easier way to look at it instead of it being a situation of like it's got to be this and this. What's the reason for those two numbers to exist? They correlate to make one result, and now VPD becomes the measurement of this result. Just like we're looking at PPFD and all these other numbers that used to not be relevant. We're looking at just your lumens, how many watts, It's the same thing when we're looking at your end result. Terpenes that we didn't know existed are being sought after now. So we're curing and drying differently. It's not, just toss it in the garage, let the blicker hang. It's a situation
baby.
Yeah, paper bag it, Ease of use, easiest way. Yeah, set it, forget it, hang it, make it happen. But if you got the money, the easiest use, I'd say Canitrol or one of these the curing boxes, because essentially cut it and it's foolproof. Yeah. There's no human error. That's what I was saying with the automatic, watering with high frequency fertigation. You could do that by hand, but if you're watering 5 times a day by hand, you better measure that every single time. Perfect.
You
Versus
got the
drip.
moolah and you got time to set it up.
Yeah,
and you
like-
got the willingness to set it up and learn. And yeah.
Then
easier on that avenue.
it'll become easy down the road, but the initial setup and the process and the money, this is where I think it's good to have conversations versus just a video of a how-to. Like, here's the easiest way to grow, because there's so many ways to do this, but then one way is better than the other for one person. You know what I'm saying? Like, Pigeon's way is the best for him. How we're sitting here and organic resonates with us. you know, and it's gonna with other people. But then someone else is like, psh, nah, dude, I'm running with this. I got Ventana plant science crushing in the back. I'm like, good. So, okay.
Yeah,
I'm
and I
not
think
gonna knock it.
I think what we can say out of this whole conversation is what you'll find for you is going to work the best in your environment. If you're in the Caribbean, you know, you're not going to have access to the same kind of tools and equipment that we have here in North America. If you are in a climate that's hot or cold, you're going to need and desire things that are going to address those complications. I think if you're going to grow, the easiest way, I think it's important to go into this hobby or this passion understanding that there's going to be trials, there's going to be tribulations, there's going to be some ups and some downs, but to come into it open-minded, knowing that you're going to fail, and that with that level of expectation, you should have fun and enjoy yourself. Because if you go into this thinking that it's going to be stressful and it's going to be homework and just knowledge that you have to soak, it's not going to be fun. It's not going to be easy at all. So I think it's very important to remember to get your hands dirty, to have fun, garden naked, get out there and just
butt naked
and just do you and have fun and make it easy. And if it works for you, then don't let anyone else tell you otherwise.
Amen, brother.
We've got to kick this question over to the audience. What's the easiest way to grow? What do you think? What do we miss? What things do you do within the grow space that are easy for you? Let us know in the comment section.
Wicked conversation,
I'm
boys.
pointing at one of
Boom. People don't know it, but this is the first of all these live epis, eh? They don't know it, but
Not live, but yeah, absolutely making it happen.
Yeah. So
appreciate you guys, all you guys' support on this avenue.
Thank you.
guys made it happen, man.
Patreon.com/FromTheStash. Appreciate all the support there. There's tons of you guys. And one more thing. Wink's got one more thing.
Bucking.
bucking. Okay.
Bucking.
So
I like that. This Wink is on.
Appreciate the correction.
Shout out to Wink.
Shout out to Jamie.
Shout out AC Infinity.
Running the Pigeons.
Shout out to Stash Blend. Make sure you get stashblend.com. Check that out. Discount codes.
The Stash.
The Stash. Yeah, we
The
got
Growers House
you
only.
guys a discount
Not
code.
on Amazon, on Growers House only.
Amazon's weird about it. Jeff
Make sure you
Bezos
check
wants
out-
another yacht. So.
Make sure you check out stashmerch.com. Check out all the latest merch, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. This
And
was a
get
heck of
Chris's
an
book.
epi. We will see you next week. Much love, guys.
Peace.